Okay, great. Let's start. Actually, very morning here. What is the off. Okay, so tonight we are actually doing this topic because many people in my sessions that the last few weeks articulated. It's not people sitting here, but you know, a lot of times a person must kind of like assume, if I can say it like that, because some people are struggling with something, but the majority of people can struggle with the same thing. So tonight we're going to speak about allowing people access to your life. Allowing people access to your life. Everybody say this with me. Love is unconditional. Forgiveness is unconditional. Access is conditional. Okay. So when we say we love somebody, we can say, my love for you, the fact that I hope it's going well in your life is unconditional. Forgiveness means to set apart, to put away from you. It just means what you have done to me doesn't affect me anymore. So forgiveness is unconditional. But a lot of times we think that access in our lives is unconditional. But access to your life is not conditional. Access to your life should be conditional. That I make a mistake in my articulation. Okay, so we are speaking about, and we're doing like a whole series of curriculum about this book that I've written called Living in the Spotlight. The spotlight metaphorically represents performance. And performance a lot of times is outside of your natural design or your natural being or your natural creation. By that I mean a lot of times people expect you to be somebody that you are not. Because when the spotlight goes on, it says you have to perform to impress. But as soon as you start to perform to impress, you cannot become. Because becoming doesn't equal impressing. And you are going to give people access in your life when you need people's approval. When you need people's approval, you're going to allow access, you're going to allow people access in your life that can damage your life. And one thing that I realize is it's much more important to have close connections than many friends. And this is something that I've realized so many times in my life, is that a lot of times we want a lot of people to like us, a lot of people to approve of us, we want a lot of fans, we want a lot of people in our lives, but it's close connections at the end of the day that's going to determine. Alain de Botton said 70% of your happiness is determined by who you are in relationship with. Now, this doesn't just say, you know, this doesn't just mean like when you marry, like that as well. But this can mean close friends, this can mean close business associates, whoever you allow close to your life, close into your life, 70% of your success will depend on who you give access to, on who you give a voice to in your life. Now, just for a moment, just quickly think about what you want in life. It can be anything. You don't have to tell them, I'm going to ask you what it is. Just think about anything you want in life, anything that you want right now, anything that you're praying for, wishing for, hoping for right now. Just think about that thing. You have it. Why do you want that? I can tell you why you want it. You want it because it's going to give you a certain feeling. It's going to give you a certain emotion. Now, here's my question. Can you have the emotion without it?
Yes.
Right. So actually, you don't want the thing. You want the thing because of the emotion you think it's going to give you. But here's the problem. If I give you the thing, you're going to have the emotion for about a day. And then you're going to want another thing. Which is fine, there's nothing wrong with wanting the thing, but what I'm saying is, and a lot of times we want something because we think people are going to be impressed by it. How many times do you hear, I have to go to the gym, I have to exercise because in 2 months' time, I'm going to the beach and I have to look good. Dude, you're not going to fix your body in 2 months. You just brought that, right? What a look good, because here's the thing. When you take your shirt off on the beach, how to take your shirt off on the beach. When you take your shirt off on the beach, that's the first words he hears as he walks in. When you take your shirt off on the beach, all of your focus in that moment is on yourself. Have you ever realized? You don't look around like, and this is why people are so self-focused. They don't really care about the way that I'm full day in the gym, obviously, as you can see. But all those things that I really do. Okay, so somebody said to you, you're coming to a Bible study and you think, what the hell is going on? Okay, Genesis 3, verse 24. So, just to give you some background about Genesis 3, it's this place called Eden was created. And the place called Eden is articulated or depicted in the biblical narrative as a garden, and the garden has a specific representation in our life today. And the garden representation in our life today is for thee. You are the garden. And the tree of life is in the midst of the garden. So the tree of life represents something in yourself. The tree of knowledge of good and evil also represents something that exists. Okay, so I'm just going to explain that quickly. The tree of life speaks about Christ himself, but it also speaks about your created being, who you were actually created to be. That's the tree of life. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is just that, the knowledge of good and evil, which represents the law, which represents performance. And the more you eat of your own performance, and this is what the spotlight represents, my performance. The more you focus on your performance, the more you focus on striving, and all of those things, the more the life is going to die within you. So we have these two trees, the tree of life, and we have the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I don't like meetings because of you people that I have to get the condition along. Okay, so lovely for that. And then he created this place called Eden. Eden is your inner being today. I'm gonna prove it to you now. And then Adam came and he ate of the fruit. Now, here's a very interesting thing. When Eve ate the fruit, nothing happened. Only when Adam ate, something happened. Because instruction was given to him, not Eve. But that's not important right now. We'll get this in a different session. So when Adam ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, meaning it's basically becoming God within yourself. My own striving, my own knowledge, my own forcing plans, and not eating of the tree of life. He was excluded from this garden. Now, I don't want you to think about the garden right now as in Genesis. I want you to think of the garden as your inner being. Meaning, this is very important for me. As soon as you have to strive or be fake to prove yourself to somebody, that person will disturb your peace. And the end result will be anxiety. And that's immediately where you have to say, no. Can you guys with me? Okay, Genesis 3. So now what happens is Adam is disturbing the garden by his own performance. Adam is disturbing the garden by becoming something that is not. And he's excluded from the garden, Genesis 3 verse 24. So he drove out the man, and he placed a cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned even way to guard the way of the tree of life. So what he's saying is Adam is put out so that the tree of life is guarded. And this narrative is explaining to us today that sometimes we have to distance ourselves from certain people and certain situations to keep the peace to be. Because it's disturbing the peace. Now, this doesn't mean this is a bad person. Please understand me correctly. This doesn't, because we're going to look at what, I'm going to say something that I'm going to get in trouble for. Online, record this. Put it on. Yeah. Okay, whatever. What did I want to say now? I forgot what I wanted to say. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to say. Some people are not bad, they're just a waste of time. Right? So sometimes you want, I do not have to evaluate whether you are good or bad, I just have to evaluate, are you actually wasting my time, yes or no? There, I can play his kids like golf. And he studied with me, also works in the area of psychology with businesses that we know what I'm talking about. So, remember when you were younger and you went to the beach? You know, when we went to the beach, like when you were young, you just want to go into the ocean. When you were older, I remember, like I have family in Margate. When you are older, you sit in the jacuzzi. I remember there was this one day, my uncle had this jacuzzi looking out of the ocean, and you sit there with red wine and young music. This is when I was older, like 15, 16-ish. I was sitting there in the jacuzzi over the whole ocean thing. But when you were young, I remember when I was young, I just wanted to run into the ocean. I just wanted to get into the water. But then later, you know, there were these two poles placed by what they called lifesavers. They couldn't swim really, but they could blow. That's how they, you know, attempted to save your life. So when you were younger, you know, you just run into the ocean, and then the stream takes you. You cannot really help it. It's not like like you intentionally go. The stream just takes you. I want you to remember this. The stream just takes you, and then the lifesaver will blow the whistle, and they will go like this. And it tells you to get back into the boundaries, because the boundaries keeps you safe. But sometimes the stream takes you without you even realizing it. Sometimes society, culture, religion, people's opinions takes you to a place and makes you wonder, but how do I actually get here? I'm not peaceful anymore. I'm not happy anymore. I just kind of like follow the stream. The stream, you know, for some reason, just took me. And I think we take so long just to take a step back and ask ourselves the question, but what do I believe? Not what a society tells you. This is why I don't really post my personal life. Like, I don't have a problem with people doing it, you won't see me do it a lot. Because honestly, I don't really care. But I like this. I don't know who I would like to impress. You see people, like I sat there in Masonburg. I went to Masonburg once because Schoolfield has a song about Masonburg, so I just bought a ticket. I'm like, I have to go. Part of my book was actually written in Masonburg. And then you sit there, order cheesecake. I love me some cheesecake. And have you ever wondered, you know, being in that moment, like the cheesecake looks so good, but I'm on the beach and probably going to have to take off my shirt later. So is it cheesecake or shirt? Which one is it? So I was sitting there with this piece of cheesecake, and I didn't feel the need to take a picture and show everybody, right? Anyway. So I was looking at this cheesecake, and I'm like, I really want this cheesecake, but it's not good for me, but it's going to taste good in the moment. And I think with a lot of relationships, we have to evaluate. And a lot of decisions we make, we have to evaluate. Is this good for me at the long run, or does it just taste good in the moment? And you know, this can be in friendships, business, romantic relationships, for everything. We have to ask ourselves the question: is this good for the long run, or is this just going to feel good in the moment? And I think a lot of times the stream takes us to a certain place because we just want what feels good in the moment. So the word Eden means your delight, your pleasure, and your abundance. This is literally the Hebrew meaning of Eden: your delight, your pleasure, and your abundance. And this story says to us that we have to step away from anything and everyone that disturbs our delight, pleasure, and abundance. This doesn't mean people are perfect, but this does mean people have certain intentions. And I evaluate things a lot. I evaluate by what I tell you. You know, if I tell you I want to get in shape, and you keep trying to shove cake down my throat, I'm going to distance myself because I just told you this is my goal. Why are you trying to derail me? Why are you not supporting me? Why are you trying to take me away from the person that I'm trying to become? Eden today is a picture of the original state of the human heart, the person you were originally created. The environment where your identity is clear and unthreatened, where I know who I am and I don't apologize for it. Are you guys with me? A life aligned with truth and God's design. Alignment. So in this garden, we have this tree, Genesis 2:15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend it and keep it. Okay, so the garden is within you. Are you guys with me? The garden is within you. What's my responsibility every day? To tend it, to keep it, to tend it, to keep it. I have to take care of what is on the inside of me. I have to take care of my Eden. I have to tend it and to keep it. Not only did he say tend it and keep it, he said expand it and multiply it. So not only do I have to take care of what I have to expand and I have to increase, I have to multiply what has been given to me internally. This is our original design. And if I want to live my life fully and clearly, I have to be clear on what is my original design. Not just why am I here, but who am I? Who am I created to be? Who do I want to be? What is my character? And this is why I always tell people, when you allow people close, to look at character first. So your responsibility is to take care of your Eden. And it's your responsibility. It's not everybody else's responsibility. I think one of the biggest things that I'm struggling with today is blame shift. But I'm responsible for my own life. I'm sitting with a person in counseling only once, and this is why. The guy was just like complaining about everything. He's like, and I'm going to Australia. I'm like, why is that? He said, no, because South Africa, this and this and this and this. Like, okay, like you can go, it's fine. There's just one problem. He said, what is that? I said, you're going with. Because wherever you go, you kind of like, you take yourself. And if you go with that mindset, you're going to create the same terrible life there. Right? Yeah, unless you take responsibility of your life. Unless you take responsibility of your own life. And you taking responsibility of your own life includes who you give access to. Genesis 2:9. Out of the ground, the Lord God made every tree that is pleasant, sight, and good for food. The tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, as well as the tree of knowledge and good and evil. So there are two trees within us. The tree of life, who I originally am, my creation, my peace, my joy, my abundance, it's in me. And then the knowledge of good and evil, my striving, my performance, me trying to impress everybody. Carl Jung, my favorite psychologist, Dr. Carl Jung, spoke about this as the persona or the masks we wear to get acceptance. And then the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we suppress, repress, or deny so that we can get accepted, or so that we can get acceptance from people. So the masks we wear depicts the tree of knowledge of good and evil, our own striving, our own performance to get acceptance. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves that we suppress or repress so that we can get acceptance. And this is my whole goal with this, is to get you to understand who you are and not being ashamed to let it out. And then people ask this question, but what if they like me? Or what if they don't like me? I can tell you, because I've done it, they won't. Right? Not everyone, but you know, a lot of times they were like, I kan dit al my jare so doen. Maar wat is hier al jou jare binne die communicatieskaplik is? Kan jy dit maar doen? But we've been friends for 20 years. No, maybe that's why you've been in the same cycle for 20 years. Sitting guys. That's a great way of announcing. Thank you, I'll agree with that. So the tree represents the life that's from God and the Theonos of God. Listen. Do you know what idolatry is? Idolatry of trusting in a different God. People pleasing is idolatry because you're trusting in people. Now, I'm not saying don't trust people. I'm saying don't put your trust in people. Because the form response says, my survival is dependent on whether you like me or not. I won't survive if you don't like me. That's dependence. That's making other people involved. And if we don't step out of that, we can never become, we truly are created to become. Okay, so two things on boundaries that we don't, then we can go. Okay, I think we're done fast, I think we're for 30 minutes. Okay. Two things on boundaries, two keys, not wisdom, two principles, let's say, two principles on boundaries, then we are done. Ed Sheeran said, the key to failure, who of you wants to fail? This is your key. Anybody wants to fail? The key to failure, this is what Ed said, I want to hold some suspense. The key to failure is to please everyone. The key to failure is to please everyone. That's the key. If you want to fail, just please everyone. If you're a person today who tries to please everyone, you will probably fail. Officer. Now, by this I don't mean treat people badly. By this I don't mean, you know, become one of those people that are just harsh. By this I'm saying, you becoming true to you, many people won't be pleased. Now, it's not that they're not pleased because you're a bad person. They're not pleased because they have their own issues. There are things like jealousy and envy. Because one thing I realized is more people will be there for you when you fall than will be there for you when you rise. Because sometimes it's when you rise, then they gossip, then they envy, then they become jealous, then they try to put things against you. Just happen. I'm not trying to make you afraid, but a lot of times you don't fear fame. A lot of times you fear success. A lot of times you fear your own light. Because what if this actually works? And sometimes that's the thing. Because we've been taught through childhood that you need acceptance. My child is the best. Your need for your child to be the best at everything will cause trauma to your child. Because they not only feel loved when they perform. And I cannot tell you how many grown-ups I work with today because of that. I was only loved when I performed. Now, performance is great. I've got to make it performance anyway. Two principles that will cause you to identify who do I allow in my life and who don't I allow in my life. Number one, understand the I am and the I must. Understand the I am and the I must. I am, who am I? I must, what must I do? What is my calling? What is it that I'm placed here on planet Earth to perform? So if I tell you this is who I am, this is my understanding of who I should be as a human being, this is my calling, this is what I must do. I sat with somebody, I told you guys the story before, and I told them I'm writing a book and I'm releasing a book, and the person said, niemand lees your book. Never spoke to him again. Not a bad person, but you're not going to bring fulfillment to my life. And a lot of people might say, but that's a little harsh. That's okay. But I've just decided I'm going to forget my ego. I'm going to forget my ego. I'm going to forget my being. I'm going to forget my being with everything in me. Extremely, guys, this is one of my favorite quotes. Say, the more you understand yourself, the more silence there is, the healthier you are. The more you understand yourself, the more silence there is, the healthier you are. What do you need to understand yourself better? Silence. What are people most afraid of? Why? Because deep down they can't lie to themselves. Because as soon as there's silence, you have to sit with you. You have to sit with your thoughts, you have to sit with your feelings. And it's not that you don't like yourself at your core. You don't like the person you've become to please everybody because the stream has taken you. And you're not swimming at a safe place anymore. And now the sharks can get you. Now the stream can take you. Understand your I am. Understand your I must. Then ask yourself a question. The people that I allow close to me, are you helping me to become the person I want to become? Are you helping me reach what I want to reach? Or are you trying to take me away? And I'll clearly communicate with people on a daily basis. I cannot allow him. The unconventional form of influence to them. Of the form of influence to them. Number two, your inner peace. So number one, the I am, the I must. We have to understand the boundary with the I am, the I must. And number two, your inner peace. Do you bring peace? Do you take peace? This is the question you always have to ask in relationships. Do you bring peace? Do you take peace? I'm not going to keep allowing people in my life that makes me feel nervous. I'm not going to keep allowing people in my life feel like burdensome all the time. I want to allow people in my life because the tree of life represents peace, and I want you to hear this. The tree of life represents peace. Do you bring peace or do you bring anxiety? Now, I'm not saying we don't. We shouldn't create our own peace. We should. It's part of the I am. I'm not saying we shouldn't deal with our own anxiety. And it's the responsibility of other people to do that. I am saying a lot of times people and their opinions, their words, their actions can bring a lot of anxiety in life. And I listen closely. I listen close to what people just say around me. And a lot of times you can just feel, because your peace is like a garden. The seeds that you sow into it will eventually grow. And again, I'm not speaking about being perfect. I'm speaking about caring about the peace of yourself and the peace of other people.
I think it's seed snatches. Seed snatches.
Okay, explain seed snatches while I snatch it.
Like if you share with me your answer book and I say, can you really achieve your dreams? No, can you really achieve your dreams? So it's like I'm being a seed snatcher from what God serve you. Like connect that to somebody who constantly takes peace. They're seed snatchers.
So a seed is something you plan to grow. Seed snatcher is somebody that wants to take it. And I think with this we can say, do you want to grow it or do you want to take it? Paulo Coelho said, listen to this will save your life. If something costs you your peace, it's too expensive. Say this again. If something or someone costs you your peace, it's too expensive. Eating from the knowledge of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If something costs you your peace, it's too expensive. As iets jou vrede kos, is dit 'n deal. I am, I must. Are you growing it or are you taking it? My peace. Are you growing it or are you taking it? And then we're going to end with this. Here we go. Did you guys learn something tonight? This cycle. So we've looked at our own Eden and how to identify who we allow and disallow. And I want to end with this. The people you allow in your life don't just stay, they shape you. The people you allow in your life don't just stay in your life, they shape your life. So you cannot have anybody close without somebody having an effect. You cannot have anybody close without that person having an effect. Now, you might ask the question, but I have this toxic family member, or I have this toxic co-worker, what do I do with them? Just don't allow them to get close. Just don't allow them, their words and their actions to have seed in your soul. That's easy. Cynthia Garrett. Now, this is for anybody who wants to grow in any area. If you want to grow, and I hope you do want to grow. This year, I want to be ashamed of the person that I was last year. That doesn't mean I was a bad person last year. I just want to grow that much. People say, you've changed. That's not an insult. I want to change. I want to be the same person. Cynthia Garrett said, if you want to change your life, you have to change playgrounds and playmates. If you want to change your life, you have to change playgrounds and playmates. Funny enough, most of my friends are older than I am, more successful than I am. I have this one good friend, and some of you have been either upon why he lives in Cape Town, and I'm visiting soon. 58 years old, very good friend of mine. I phoned him once, and I said, Edward, I'm going to sell 10 million copies of my book. Very exciting. He said, there are 8 billion people in this world. How on earth do you only want to sell 10 million copies? Why don't you want to impact more people? Basically rebuked me. But yes, we claim them. I asked the same guy, this is my friend, I asked the same guy once, I'm like, either if you think I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. He said to me, if you can hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. Shame. If you want to change your life, you have to change playgrounds and playmates. Proverbs 25 verse 13. Like the cold snow in the time of harvest, it is a faithful message to those who send it. For he refreshes the soul of his masters. Meaning, the people that you allow in your life should be refreshing. They should build. They should increase the life. And you should do it to other people as well. I think for a moment we just have to pause and say, what impact do I have in the life of another person? I want to be a person where people can say, my life is better since he came into my life. Now, I'm not speaking about jealous, insecure people who get treated well. But I want to be a person. I get into somebody's life, people must say, he's better because of you. You help me grow. You help me reach my dreams. You help me reach my goals. Help me grow. Sometimes we have to stop and just ask the question. Not only are people increasing my I am and my I must, not only should people increase my peace, but also I want to go find out what is your I am and what is your I must. I want to find out how I can support, help, and grow you. Find out how I can sow peace into your life. Because God will send to you whenever you become one of you. Not only do I want to bring those people into my life, I want to become that person. Sometimes we just have to say no. Sometimes we just have to say no. Sometimes we just have to say, today I'm making a decision. I'm not going to allow you to pollute my ego any. So, yes, I can only give you information. I cannot change your life in any way. But this is what I can say. Can you take the information that I've given you this evening and just in one way or another make it your own? Sit with your own notebook, sit with your own pen. Just take 30 minutes in the morning, sit at your own prayers. I do it every single morning. Don't pen, Bible, separate. Every single morning, separate, no matter where I am, separate. And I make this appeal to me. Just say, this is how I'm going to live my life from now on. I've told this story before, but I think it's a bit for this evening, and we're going to close. Okay. I do believe it's 3 hours. And this one guy, this one friend of mine, 2 weeks before he got married. Weeks before he got married, I was sitting with him in the spring, okay, and he's like, oh, I know she would give it for baby, how the trouble starts and how the difficulty starts and how the suffering comes and all of this things he said 2 weeks before the guy got married. And it's my friend, I said, are you friends with this guy? It's like, yeah. I said, you're going to stay friends with him, you're going to get divorced. I said, because you cannot. And I said to the other people, I still very happily married you guys about 8 years later. Said to you cannot have a desire to get married and allow this in your life. Just can't. So as we finish, as we close, I think everybody can close your eyes. And just for 1 minute, I want you to think about this. Do you know your I am? Why? Or at least, what do you want to become? Do you know your I must? What is my responsibility on that? Do you really have peace? Can you honestly say, I have peace? Now, what boundaries do I have to set to get these things in place? What do I have to say yes to? What do I have to say no to? Can I encourage you? Can I love? What can I do with my life? I can say I live the life worth living. And I'm not saying I'm there. I still struggle so many times. But I will wake up every single morning and commit myself to become the person God created me to be. And now, actually, just for the first time, maybe for the first time in your life, just make it personal. What do I need to do for me so that I can be okay? And this is not a selfish thing. It's actually one of the most selfless things you can do, because you can never give from an empty cup. Some of you are trying to give, but you're so empty on the inside. Stop letting people take away what you need. You can love them, you can forgive them, but stop giving everybody access. In Jesus' name. Amen.